Hello there, welcome back to my YouTube channel, Janet's English class. I am Janet, and today I've put together a really great lesson for you on how to learn English with poems. So today you will be learning some English, some metaphors, some concepts that the poet used in some poems. You might have heard these before, but these poems are unique in some way, and I'll be introducing to you some of the poetic techniques that poets, authors use in their writing. So let's get started. Alright, so the first poem we'll be looking at is Icarus in Love. Now this is a very short love poem. In this poem, we're going to be looking at the use of metaphor and how it is effective. So now I'm going to show you the poem, and you can stop the video to read it over a few times, and then later I'm going to be analyzing it. Alright, so now that you have read the poem, here's my analyzing for this poem, Icarus in Love. So basically this poem is talking about love, and the metaphor of the story is Daedalus and Icarus. So if you're unsure of what the Greek myth is behind Daedalus and Icarus, it's basically all about Greek mythology. So here's the story. Icarus is the son of Daedalus and Great. Icarus had to get out of King Minos' labyrinth, a mysterious, deadly maze where the Minotaur lived, a beastly creature that kills. Daedalus was incredibly intelligent and managed to fight the laws of nature and beat gravity by making wings made of wax and branches to craft out two pairs of wings. So once Icarus learned how to fly with the wings, he and Daedalus flew up to the sky, but Icarus flew too close to the sun, and the wax on his wings melted, and eventually he fell into the ocean and drowned. But so what does this story have to do with the poem that I just introduced? So the poem is actually a little longer, but I cut out this section because it was extremely meaningful. Here's why. So let's break this down. When it comes to love, people will think of lovers as intimate couples that share a relationship. The poet has used the concept of the story Daedalus and Icarus to form a metaphorical effect on the poem. So the poem says someone loves another, just like Icarus loved the sun. So in the poem, it talked about Icarus loving the sun and like how it flew too close to it. And so the last two lines, too close, too much, means the person loves the person wholeheartedly. I find this poem particularly interesting and captivating because of its creative use of metaphor between love and Greek mythology. And as you may know, that Greek mythology actually has a lot of romanticism inside, and it is extremely effective that the author has used Greek mythology and story to create this, romantic and interesting effect on the poem. It's eulogizing. It brings a lot of eloquence to the poem. So, yeah. And another point that I want to point out is that, so when I said Icarus flew too close to the sun, maybe he was really enjoyed and happy when he was flying. It's like the same feeling of love, I think. So basically when you love someone, it's like a magical journey. You're so happy in there, you're completely hypnotized in that process. So, too close, too much. Those two lines make the reader feel a lot of emotions, and I feel like that's what the poet has done so well in the poem. So there we have it, Icarus in Love. Alright, so the next poem we're going to be looking at is I Wandered as Lonely as a Cloud. And another name for this poem is Daffodils. This poem is written by William Wordsworth from 1770 to 1850. So in this poem, we're going to be specifically looking at the vocabulary used to provoke a memorable yet eloquent effect on the poem. So what do some words mean, and how do they affect the poem? Let's find out. But firstly, I'm going to show you the poem so you can pause the video and read if you want. Alright, so now on to our analyzing of the vocabulary. So for this section, we're going to be looking at some a bit more difficult vocabulary words that I'm going to introduce to you. I'm going to be saying the meaning and an example sentence, and then I'm going to be, discussing how it has an effect on the line where the word is placed. Alright, so our first vocabulary word is sprightly. Okay, so the meaning of this word means full of energy, very lively, and it's usually used to describe an old person. So an example sentence would be, she was quite sprightly for her age. The poet has used this adjective to describe the cloud's movement in the second stanza, line 6, last line. And this means the clouds are dancing wildly and energetically in the night sky, even though they are dark and grayish toned and are described as old, you know what I mean? Alright, so our next word is vacant. Vacant means not occupied, empty. So an example sentence, there was only one vacant hotel room available for the family. So, the poet has used this word in the last stanza, stanza 4, and in the second line, after describing him lying on the couch, the poet has said that his mind was either vacant or pensive. Pensive is a word that I'll discuss later, but this line means that his mind can be vacant, meaning empty and unoccupied by thought. Alright, our next word is pensive. Pensive, the meaning is engaged by something or engaged in something, deep reflection or a serious thought. So an example sentence, Bill was in a pensive mood after the bewildering experience of him not winning the flute competition. The poet has used this word in the same stanza and line as the word vacant, the word I mentioned before, stanza 4, line 2. Now that I have introduced this word, it all makes sense, doesn't it? The poet says he is on the couch either in a vacant or pensive mood, meaning that he can either be completely thoughtless or in the moment or having nostalgic memories of the daffodils, which is what the last line talks about. So overall, this poem is actually incredibly famous, and I absolutely love reading it. The whole poem uses metaphorical language and personification to paint a picture of clouds and daffodils. The scenery is formed within each stanza, if you have noticed, and also leads back to the poet thinking about his memories with daffodils again in the last stanza. So, what do you think about this poem? You can comment in my website chat box. Alright, I hope you learned some words with this poem I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud, or also known as Daffodils.